Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? I am your host, AC Brown. I am your psychic channel and voice of truth. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? And I have a special guest today. I have Walaa, who is a color therapist. She's also the creator of Color Ways. She is originally from Kuwait, but she lives in Barcelona, or yeah, Kuwait City, right? Yes, correct. Or it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's so tiny.
It's just so tiny. It's just
So tiny.
right, so
Like
tiny.
Barcelona's bigger than Kuwait. Yeah.
Right. But she is the author of Heal Yourself with Color. Harness the power of color to change your life, which it is a beautiful book. The cover is amazing and it looks like it has gold on it. And I'm just like, ooh, I want it. But before we started recording, Walaa and I were talking because I am a red person or
Red
with
color archetype. Yeah.
red color archetype, and I hate the color red. Well, I don't. Well, let's rephrase.
Okay. No, use the word hate for me because hate is such
Yes.
a wonderful word. It's such a wonderful feeling. There's so much fire in that word that
Yes.
we
So
need that fire. We're so scared of hate. Hate is good.
before we had a conversation a few weeks ago, and I discovered that I was a color red archetype, and I was just like, oh my, we were talking about colors, and I was like, oh, I hate the color red, and she looked up my stuff and she was like, you're a red archetype, and I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. But it makes sense because of why the color red annoys me, but why I need to lean into red more. And I had my judgments about red as we were discussing before we started recording, because red for me is loud. It is also like very boisterous. It's very, in my former opinion, a little bit arrogant. It is shocking. It is in your face. And that is something that I have steered away from, because my mom is very like that. And I'm just like, oh, I want to be a little bit softer. But I'm embracing that I need to embrace red, the characteristics more, because it would actually benefit me. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and also what's coming as you're talking is also red is also about having strong physical boundaries.
Mm, whoa. Well, then you just hit a nail on the head there. And I don't mind divulging this either, because it's my podcast and I don't mind talking about this. So the past couple of, I would say, I've been back in therapy probably since the beginning of the pandemic,
Oh,
and which has been great. However, last year, because I guess my body was ready and my mind was ready and my memories were ready to reveal and to talk about and finally heal trauma that I've had in my life. And some of that trauma was sexual. So when you just say that, it's interesting because that's what I worked on, is the boundaries and reasons why, and all of the stuff was all connected. So that makes even more sense now.
yeah, it makes more sense that okay. So it's I'm sorry you went through that. It's really horrible. But also
Yes,
your soul wanted it for evolution.
correct.
It's this complex thing between between what your soul wants and what happens to us. But it's interesting because when we're talking about red energy, we're talking about something very physical. We're talking about a big connection to the physical body. Very Reds are all about expressing through the physical body, understanding, learning through touch, learning through the physical body. And then when you have you know, a person who's red, who's been their boundaries were crossed through their physical body, it's kind of like, I don't want this body.
Mm,
Especially when the trauma hasn't been touched in a long time, because we tend to, rightfully so, not want to deal with the trauma. We don't want to go through that pain. And that is interesting because this incident that happened in your life was like meant to disconnect you from your own power and your own soul. And now, as you're working on it, you're beginning to disconnect. Therefore, your feelings about red are coming up very strongly. And therefore, it's like, hate red. That's why I'm saying hate is a good word, because when we feel hate, there's a big wound.
Mm.
And that's where we can begin healing, is by acknowledging and looking at the wound. So, wow, girl,
Well, that's good to
we
know
gotta we
because
gotta embrace the red.
yes, I gotta embrace the red. So I'm, I'm gonna.
Also read as like, even when you're working with it on visualization and light, and how red light really affects us physiologically, and the effects of it is so powerful. um, and it's one of the colors that release pain from the physical body.
Interesting. Can you say more about that?
So
Releasing the pain from the physical body with red, we mean like meditating, that kind of thing. Okay.
so when you're working with any color, you're working with it either you're visualizing it, you're wearing it, you even use the colored lights to use it. And then there's a big movement with red light therapy,
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
like the Juve lights and all of this, and how the red light, and so the red lights are infrared lights and just red LEDs.
Okay.
And the red frequency is a frequency that's very, that just in your body, that helps your body heal, that helps your muscles heal. It's a beautiful, wonderful frequency, but it's all about the body.
Mm, that makes so much sense. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
So it's really interesting, when we're talking about physical boundaries, when we're talking about red, and because physical boundaries with red is like, it begins with, also even culturally, a lot of cultures would be like very intrusive in terms of touch.
Mm, yes.
And they think it's like love, but it was just boundary. Like, for example, just now I was in the market with my stepdaughter, and the lady was so affectionate with her. She was so lovely, and then she went and just kind of touched her, just
Oh, okay.
playfully. And I didn't like it, because I felt, and I saw her, and I was like, this is your boundary, it's crossed. And it got me thinking, I'm like, how do I teach this woman that this is the boundary of my stepdaughter? Don't touch her body without her permission.
Mm.
But culturally, we're used to touching kids and squeezing them and forcing them to kiss us and forcing them to hug,
That's interesting that you say that because I always ask people, can I touch you?
because your boundary, because you've experienced your physical
That's
boundaries.
so I've just thought about even like even if I'm like on a date, I'm like, can I touch your hand? Like with men, like I'm always
Yeah,
asking people, can I touch you? Or especially if the work that I do, if I'm like in somebody's presence, I always say, can I touch you?
yeah.
That's interesting that you, wow, that's amazing. So when we talk about color therapy, and because many people don't know too much about it, and I know that it's ancient, and that it's very useful. What do you find like when people come to you? Where do you meet them at? Where are most of your clients that they come to you when they're like, oh, a color therapist? You know.
Usually are the women who are very visual, the artists, the stuff, they really connect with color. But then also, a lot of people come to me because they feel like, they're living a life that's like, they're overthinking, they're living a double life where they feel like they're not connected and aligned with their authentic self. They don't feel seen. They are full of self-judgment, and there's a lot of victim thinking going on there. These are like the main things when people come to me, and they feel all alone and stuff. And color therapy, the beauty of it, color therapy can work on so many different things, but the way I like to focus on color therapy is to help you really realign with your soul and who you are. And this is where the healing is, and this is where the healing begins within you. And we ask the hard questions, and we work on the hard wounds and the things that we don't want to face, so we can align you back with who you are and who you're meant to be. and with your
Mm.
happiness. So this is where people meet me at, but they always go like, color therapy, what? And I've had a lot of questions about it, but color calls people as soon as they understand just a little bit, just the basics of like, oh, okay, if I imagine like this room without color and then this room with color, I'll experience it completely differently. Oh, there's so much more that I can do with color. There's so much more I understand now with color.
I love that. And I don't know why this popped into my head, but when you think about that from a feminine perspective, and I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking it just popped in my head about Kim Kardashian's house. It is all beige.
I know.
So I know that was Kanye's fault. However, what does that say then about someone, or what do you see in the work that you do, who chooses to live in such a neutral tone all the time? Like everything is neutral.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember when I first saw the house, I was like, oh my God, I could never live there. But that house, the way it was designed, the intention of it was minimalism and the blank page, from my understanding.
Mhm.
And we know that Kanye, as eccentric as he is, he's quite progressive in his thinking.
Yeah.
And he's such an interesting person for people to who especially for people who understand his incredible mind. Having said that, it's because when someone is so intelligent and is just the thoughts are coming so much, and these kind
Right.
of houses, these kind of homes, they remove the thinking, they strip
I
all the
figured
fancy
that
one,
because I
and
could live
remove.
there.
I couldn't. I like expression.
But see, when you say from that perspective, I see me as the expression in it, or like flowers, or the accents, or things that I bring
Yeah,
into
but
the.
in that house, there's
They
no accents,
rarely,
no
they
flowers.
it isn't right. So
Yeah,
I guess I like it as a canvas, and
yeah.
then adding things too. But you're right, they don't. There's nothing in there that's an
But
accent.
it's a very interesting, beautiful concept of, and I've been seeing it grow in interior design a lot, where it's this like you're having negative space in your home
Hmm.
allows you more space in your mind.
Okay.
But then you turn a house into a complete neutral space that is a blank space for you to have ideas, etc. And it is a concept, but it just depends on who you are. Are you a person inspired by things, or are you a person inspired by nothingness?
Mm.
Where do you want to begin? And that's a very interesting choice he's made, because I didn't see her in that house. I saw him.
Right. Yeah. She seemed miserable, but now we know she was. So when you think about people and their choices, because I know when we think about the pandemic, right? And we've been in the house for a very, very long time. And I know that it just in general, there's a shift in interiors and design. What do you suggest people do? Because I think the whole being home is going to still be a theme as we move through this and as this becomes less and less of a threat to us. How do you advise your clients and people who come to your page, whatever it is, to make their home life more colorful, or to lean into their color archetypes in their spaces?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking it. So when I was in lockdown, I was in an apartment in the city. I had no sunlight, and
Oh
I was
God.
all alone. So that's how I spent 6 months of my life.
Oh.
It was really difficult, but it was really interesting. I was very lucky that I had my dogs, because we were, allowed to go and walk the dogs, and I was allowed to, walk them and get some sun. Why I say sun? Because I would always advise people, do your best to find a place with a lot of sun, because the light from the sun holds all the color frequencies. And
Right.
it's very cleansing. It's cleansing for our energy, it's cleansing for our feelings, our emotions. It helps us wake up. There's so many benefits for being under the sun. We need it. And then the other part is, begin to see and feel into each room of your home. what is the intention that you want? What do you want this room to do? And whenever I'm designing space, I'll like touch the wall and I'll just connect with the house frequency and ask it, what do you want for you?
Mm,
I'll ask the rooms, what do you want for you? And I will also ask the people around, what is it that I'll look at the people around, what is their intention in a living room, what do they do in a living room, what do they do in a bedroom, and aligning these things plus the challenges that people live in this space have, and creating a color palette for it.
I love that. And what happens if someone doesn't, living in New York City or another major city, London, wherever where there you have minimal sunlight?
Mm.
What do you advise for them? I mean, of course, going outside is great, but inside the space, because you still have to be there. What do you suggest?
There are some very interesting lights that mimic the sun.
Okay.
They're incredible also to help wake you up, so it helps with your biological clock. There's a Philips one, they're like the sunlight ones, they're really good. You can use those. And also, red light is really important. We don't get enough red light, we don't get enough red frequency. We get all
Yes.
the blue light and all of this, and we don't get enough. Blue light is higher. Sorry, blue light is higher frequency, and it's a very fast paced, fast moving.
Yeah.
It's not very grounding.
Mm.
And then we need the grounding of being in the physical. We're here to be human, we're here to have a human experience. We must connect with red light. So, red light is something that I love using. I love using it on my desk in the morning as I'm working. I put red light on my face.
Wow. Okay. Well, everybody go and get some red lights. I'll put some links in there. You can get some red light. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about, okay, I'm going to get a red light and work
I
with
have
it.
those like little lights that
Okay.
that change color.
Okay.
And I
Oh,
just
I
use
love
them.
that.
You can change color, and this one is great because you can carry it and take it everywhere. I have a bunch of them all over the house, um,
Oh,
but
that's cool.
but they're so nice.
I
Generation Z is so big on them.
I will put, yeah, I'll put that in the link in the description, but that's amazing. So, as a color therapist, what do you feel, because, people, I want you to buy the book, but tell us a little bit about your story and how it constantly influences the work that you do, because I know as because I think what the question I'm asking is, the trends are always changing, right? When you think about color, design, clothing, all of that stuff is always changing.
Yeah,
So how does the work that you do keep the a sense of authentic, just genuine, like the basics of it, and bringing that to it with, how you came into color, what you use it for, because everything's always changing around us is pretty much what I'm saying. So how can we keep the essence of the basics that color should bring us, even though, like, the
I
Pantone
hear.
color changes every freaking year. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, that's the theme. It's
No, it's
whatever
every
the color.
season.
Oh,
It's
that's right.
every
Every season they change the Pantone color. So it's like the themes and the trends and then
And
stores
there's
and
like
all
the
of
color, and then there's the subcolors, etc. So
right.
if we're talking about Pantone and all of these colors are set to. It's very interesting how they figure it out, because I've been in these panels. You get color experts, color designers, color consultants, and people involved in brands and everything, and they'd be sitting in the room predicting what is coming for the next years in terms of social, psychological effects, and they'll sit there and create a story for each of these, color themes, and then they'll decide which is what are people most likely are going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you get, depends on people's feelings, and this is what drives the market color wise. It's a
Mm.
very interesting process. But how to keep authentic with color? you we are nature is change, and it's very natural for the colors you're attracted to. And I would also add a little bit, they kind of should also change.
Mm,
because that's an indication that you are moving as well and you are changing. So the colors you need and the colors you hate, which you need more than other colors, are are changing with you. So because
mm,
every time you're attracted to a color or repelled by a color, it's a message from your subconscious, because really colors don't actually exist. They
right.
are the translation of your mind to different light frequency. And as we know, every frequency, every bandwidth holds thought patterns, holds certain emotions. And these colors are just a translation, really, for us to know what is it that we need. So when we're attracted to orange, we need more nurturing. We need to look at the mother wound. We need to look at what we see in the feminine. What does the feminine mean? Now, if we're attracted to blue, are we being authentic with ourselves? Are we listening to who we are? Are we expressing who we are? So every color, and then you're bringing the shades and the tones. It's all like a whole different. It's a beautiful, beautiful world that just translates what we want.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And when we when you say that, it brings up so much because I notice how I gravitate towards certain colors. I notice how friends gravitate towards certain colors. So would you then say that not all the time, but anything that you would say that you hate or dislike is something that you do need to lean more into?
Definitely. I always tell people the colors you hate the most are the ones you need the most, just like the yoga pose.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, red is the only one that I hate the most. So that's
Because
the one I
now,
need the most.
because as we were talking before we jumped on the call, it's something that you've asked to work on. So your soul is like showing you, because your soul is showing you, hey, this is the color of the thing that you need to work on. It's in your face now. Come on.
Mm, okay. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Um, what made you want to write the book?
It was funny because it was manifested. It just happened. But the publisher came to me and they were like, "Yeah, we want to write a color therapy book on how to heal insomnia." Da, da. And I was like, "Listen, the book you're suggesting has is on my shelf in three different titles at least. And if I'm gonna write a book, it's gonna be a book that will teach people how to begin having a relationship with color, because I feel like people need to learn how to have a relationship with color. The book you're suggesting is a book that people read and don't understand. This is
Mm,
why there's so many people who try to become color therapists, but they can't. They don't. It doesn't work because they're unable to put this in action. They don't understand it because they're not taught to have a relationship with colors. They're not taught to understand that each of us would have um, a very unique and intimate relationship that teaches us about this map and this gift from the sun. So basically, I wrote this book with basics on how to look at color. Like, how do you start developing your relationship with color, each color, and then each color and my story with each color. How did each color, so you can understand a little bit about what a relationship with color can look like.
really looks like.
And then I filled it with different exercises based on different things. I wanted it to be simple. I wanted the language to be simple. I didn't want it to be complicated. I didn't want it to be arrogant. I wanted it to be readable and fun and also deep at the same time.
I love
And then they
that.
agreed. And they agreed. And the book is here. It was written
That's
during the pandemic.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you plan on writing other books about
Not
color?
yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
not yet.
But
No, because
this
I was just like, maybe you can get more specific and write about each color. That would be cool.
Yes, I would love that, but, before that, I would like to do, color cards first.
Oh, lovely. That's nice. So what are your suggestions? So we already talked about the red. I need to get red lights. Everybody needs to get red lights. You need more red. Do you start with your clothing first? Do you start with your environment first? Where is the first place that people should start with bringing the color that they need in their life?
The easiest. So, and what's easiest is usually outside of us.
Mm,
So in our home is easier with flowers. I love using flowers.
okay.
Flowers are such a beautiful, wonderful way. Very playful, temporary. Doesn't feel like it's permanent. Um, so it's a beautiful way, and flowers have very high frequency. So bringing the color with roses is very very high frequency. You can just play with it so
I'm
beautifully.
laughing because I'm like, I hate red rose.
You hate red roses?
I have a reason for that, but this is probably
But I,
so
I don't like red rose. I don't
I
like
don't
to be
like red
gifted red
roses
roses.
because I
I
think that
buy
they're
them
basic. They're basic to me. Like,
to be
reason
gifted.
why. Yes, to be gifted red roses is kind of like, come on, really. And the only reason why, because my dad, he worked a lot. He was very, very busy. And so he, every Valentine's Day, like clockwork, he would buy my mom and I a dozen red roses each and huge big boxes of Godiva chocolates. And so when I was 8, that was great. But then as I got older, I was like, it was just like, just super like, oh my gosh, like, really, you couldn't get another color. And it just became like that. So I don't like being gifted red roses at all.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I because for me it's like get more creative with
yes,
the
I like
flowers.
lilies. I like
I
peonies.
love
Like,
lilies, and
yeah,
red lilies are gorgeous. Have
yeah,
you
I love.
seen those?
I love lilies. I love
Mhm.
lilies. I love peonies. I love those
I
are
love
like my
tulips. I'm
favorite.
like going crazy over
Tulips are
tulips
nice.
these
Now
days.
I can do a red tulip. That's
Gorgeous,
pretty.
gorgeous.
So
Yeah,
you say
I have red tulips. I just got them yesterday. Um,
okay, so red
love them.
tulip. So start with color and flowers, or would it be too
Or
apropos
lights.
or lights? Would it be too much if I got a red couch?
Yeah, I think it'll be like when I first started my color journey, I hated green. Just couldn't
I
stand green.
love green. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Yeah, now I love green. But at the time, I just like you tell me green, I'll be like, just leave me alone. Go away. I don't want to look at green. And then I figured out it was because I was so scared to be vulnerable.
Mm,
And green represented that. It's very interesting. Green is a very complex color because people don't like it. It doesn't sell magazines.
I
Green clothing
love
doesn't sell so
green.
much um, because it's just a calling to be vulnerable and open and natural and um, and just finding that courage to be open. And
Wow.
all my life, my mom attacked me for being too sensitive.
Mm,
You're too sensitive. You're too soft. And every time I'd have, the sensitivity, you're too emotional. This is your problem in life. You're too emotional. And they kept repeating that about me. My mom, my cousins, my aunts, everything. It's like, this is my problem in life. So growing up, vulnerability was something that I completely rejected about myself. And when I first started working with the color therapist, she was like, you need green. And I was like, fuck. Sorry.
you're
I'm like,
fine. It's that type of podcast.
okay, good. I was like, fuck, do I have to like green? But me being a yellow, I'm like all out. It's either something or nothing. I mean,
Right.
sorry, if it's either all the way or nothing. So what I ended up doing is I bought green bed sheets
Oh,
and a duvet that was green as well. And I put myself in there to, help myself heal and accept green.
how
And
was that?
I was meditating on green. I was doing all that stuff. So yeah,
What was that like sleeping in green?
it's horrible in the beginning. I hated sleeping. I didn't want to sleep. I hated my bed. But then I kind of offset it with a bit of orange. But then I got used to it, and now I love green so much. I would never wear green clothes. Now I do.
I
Have like
love
these green
olive
pants.
green. I love army green. I love mint green. I
Yeah,
love
you like the muted greens.
yes, I
You like the
do.
muted
Well, no,
colors.
I like hunter green. I like a hunter green, like
Oh, I love
a
hunter green.
dark green. I love that. Like
What
a
about
dark
lime green?
maybe not. Well, no. if it's in a sneaker, absolutely, or a tennis shoe. I don't
Okay.
know what you guys call them over there,
Yeah,
but
that's
a sneaker, yes. If it's in an athletic shoe, I would totally do a lime green. That is
okay.
so up my alley. I do
Yeah.
like bright colored sneakers. Love
Okay.
it. Love, love, love. Like hot pink, like all
Ooh.
sorts yellows. All I love that. That
That's
lights me
interesting
up.
because feet are a symbol of taking action, and it sounds like you are not afraid to take action openly and just, take your steps very loudly, but everything else you're not into doing loudly.
That is true.
But you see, like the color, it's like it's so much. When people come to me and they're like, "Yeah, it's just color," I'm like, "What do you mean it's just color? You're telling everything you're wearing. You're telling everybody about what you are, who you are, what do you do, and what do you hate doing in like a matter of seconds."
Wow. That is really deep because I mean everybody who's listening to this, I'm sure, and when we had talked before, when I was growing up, a friend, my cousin's coworker and friend, she only wears red. Everything in her house is red. I mean, red car, everything. And I was just like, I
Did you
just
ever
hated
manage to
it.
get her birthday for me so I can
No,
tell
I
you what
didn't. I
color?
didn't. If I forget, I'll let you know. But yes, everything was red. She wore red lipstick. Her nails were red. And I was just like, I just hated it so much. And then thinking about that, now that you say that, we all know someone who only wears black.
Yeah.
Or some people, there's a celebrity, her name is Lisa Ray, here in the States. She only wears white. Like that's her
Mm.
only color. She only wears white. She wears white everything. What do you got to
Why?
say about that? About the white?
Oh, my face, my God, my face. So, okay, let me begin it like this. Anytime we are just one color only, we are boxing ourselves in that sort of expression. So when we're taught, because we're 360 beings, we have so much expression within us, we have so much complexity within ourselves and within who we are. Okay, and then when you're boxing yourself in one color, you're only wanting to be, especially when you're wearing this color, you only want to be seen as that.
Mm,
And this is where you're comfortable, and this is who you want people to see you as, and that's it. And then when we're talking about constantly wearing black and dark colors, we're talking any time. You're talking about a color that is dark, you're talking about a color that's going inside, within. That's it. It doesn't express out much. It just expresses within. And we need an exchange. We need an out and an in. We
mm,
need a constant exchange. So when you're only in reflective mode, that's why they tell you black is depressing. It's
mm.
because it's just the expression is inward, inward, and you're not able to express outward. It kind of it makes your energy stagnant inside. That's why when you're having a bad day, you want to grab black because it hides you, it protects you, it doesn't show you. But you shouldn't grab black, you should grab white
Mm.
or bright color. So it can help you deflect, not take in more
Oh,
negativity.
interesting.
Yes, because you're absorbing. How do we see black?
Right. So you saying that the person who wears all white then could be
It's
someone who's
constantly deflecting.
wow, that well, that would make total sense.
I don't know
Uh
who's
yeah,
the celebrity exactly. I don't
she's
know
an
her.
actress. She's an actress. I don't this is so random, but I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie Players Club with Ice Cube.
No.
Yeah, don't worry
I'm
about
bad with
it.
movies. I'm more
Yeah.
of like a show person.
It's a 90s movie, but she was
Yeah.
in it. She was also married. She was also the first lady of Turks and Caicos at one point, but she's an actress here in the States.
So what
So
I want to say about like this whole all white thing, it's so there was like at some point there was like the spiritual movement of only wearing white.
yes,
You
that's
should
what I was
only
just getting ready
wear,
to ask you about.
okay? It's like we're only wearing white. And what I find, because I also, when people say white light this thing, I'm like, no, gold light it, don't white light it.
Mm,
White light is emergency.
okay. We're learning
Okay.
something new here today, kids.
Yeah, because like whenever someone, and I've worked with healers who are my friends, and especially ones who've done Reiki, and they're like white light. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like,
I
so hold
always,
on.
when I meditate, I always do a gold light or a gold ball. I
Yes,
always do that. I never
yes.
do white. It
Because
never
there's
felt
a certain
good.
disconnection that white brings. It disconnects you. It deflects everything. You don't feel connected. So when you're channeling for other people and you're protecting yourself with white, you're really not connecting with them or their guides.
Mm.
You're better off protecting yourself with pink light because it's more compassionate and kind and non-judgmental. Therefore, you're a clear channel.
I love yeah, that's I never anytime I ever do a meditation with anybody, I always say, imagine a gold ball spinning
Yes,
and
you
dropping
are. You
gold
are
lights,
correct.
all of that. Cause white never really
Yeah.
I never felt good about it because I could, like you said, I couldn't connect with it. I couldn't even
Because if you
imagine
really
a
look
white
at
light.
white, white is a color that is pure. It's really clean. There's no emotions in it. There's nothing in it. It's just plain
So you're saying
face.
anytime you see spiritual people with all white, be very afraid. No. Be cautious.
I'm just,
No, no.
when people go into like, oh, it's all white, blah blah blah. It's they're not connecting with their deeper self and
That
deeper.
is
It's
interesting that
deflecting.
you say that because, a lot of celebrities, they'll have all white parties.
It's deflecting. It's a perfect
So it's
color.
a big whole bunch of people deflecting. That is so I never even thought about that,
Yeah,
especially
but the white is perfect when you're having a shitty day. Put on white, you'll deflect things perfectly, and nobody will notice that you're feeling like shit.
mm,
I
I
love
mean,
white. I'm not saying anything against
no,
white.
I like
Don't do
white
it
too,
constantly.
but the concept of it, especially in the work that you and I do, I now it makes sense why I could never connect even in meditation with white because I was just like, what it just wouldn't even show up in my mind.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so you're saying that white is a deflection, but if you are having a crappy day, then go ahead and put it
yeah.
on.
We need deflection. Deflection is important,
Mm.
but not constantly.
And well, let's talk about that then. When you talk about deflection is important, explain that a little bit for us because there's also this kind of wave of, toxic positivity
Oh.
and just, you know what I mean? And just like
You're
sprinkling.
hitting all the topics that I'm just like
Yeah.
I have very controversial opinions.
But that's why, I want to go there with you because like, oh, let's sprinkle some happiness on it. Let's emotionally bypass life and then everything's just great.
No,
So let's talk about
bullshit.
deflection. Right.
So when
Exactly.
I'm saying we need deflection is important, I mean today, something really shitty. You woke up today and something really shitty happened. Okay, but you need to show up today,
Okay.
so you need to deflect
Mm,
until you're able to sit down and deal with whatever shitty thing that happened. Okay, you can deflect and doing it intentionally and knowingly. Like I'm doing this because I need to show up today. And then after I finish showing up, and because I can't cancel my day, whatever, really need to show up, I'll go back and deal with my mess.
mm,
Because dealing with your mess is where spiritual and growth and everything happens. Toxic positivity, I can't stand it. When I started this whole spiritual journey of mine, this toxic positivity drove me crazy because I felt like there's something wrong with me because I couldn't connect with gratitude. Everybody's like, oh, I'm
right.
grateful, be grateful. And I'm like, I
Right.
can't be grateful. I don't feel grateful. I feel like shit. And it was because there was a lot of mess and a lot of trauma that I needed to deal with because gratitude was so scary for me.
Mm,
Being in a happy place was so scary for me at that time that I couldn't connect with gratitude because, I'd rather stay in the shit and be whatever because it's comfortable. I know it. But
right. Right.
without unraveling these layers, I won't be able to reach that frequency.
Right.
And without the negative emotions, hate, anger, all the things they tell you not to be. Having a bad day. Oh my god, you're a spiritual healer. What do you mean you're
Right.
having a bad day?
Exactly.
What? And I'm like, no, I'm here to tell you that bad days happen, but I'm gonna teach you to bounce back. Because life is not roses and beautiful things all the time. Right? Life is up and down and changes, and being in the shit is part of, being human. It's part of this duality that we live in. It's very important. It has important lessons for us. It teaches us about values, it teaches us about so many things. And shitty beliefs. When you're feeling like shit, like I said, when you hate something, you're like, oh, okay, there's a wound. Okay, let's go
Mm.
clean it. Let's go help it. Instead of being, oh, no, I'm going to transcend above it. No, you're not going to transcend above it. We're going to sit here and we're going to take this baby, this crying baby, and we're going to soothe it.
I love that.
So this is how I like to work. So bullshit, positive, positive,
Yeah,
false.
I don't like that either. I don't do that either. I'm
It's
yeah,
very
life
egoistic.
is well, it is, and it's just it doesn't help because you spend so much time kind of fighting the hate, the anger, and all of that stuff when you can just be going in it and dealing with it and moving
Transcend it.
past it and healing it.
Exactly.
So that's I love that. I love the whole white thing. Like now I know so many people who do, but it's funny because when I feel sad, I put on denim.
Denim also for me is a very interesting color. So denim is blue, and also denim is practical, and it's also denim is getting down and dirty.
Mm,
It's like the
okay.
cowboy boot, the muddy boot.
Yes.
Sorry,
I
the
have
muddy
like a
pants.
favorite denim shirt. I mean it's great. I iron it and I put it on. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing today. I'm putting on this denim shirt. I'm gonna make it happen today.
I'm gonna make it happen today. Yeah, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into my authentic self, and I'm gonna like be practical, and I'm just gonna get it done. That's beautiful. I love it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, what do you want people to walk away from when they after they buy your book, if they hire you, all of that stuff? What is some of the things that you want people to know most importantly about color?
That color is everywhere. It's constantly talking to you. You just need to learn to listen. And once you listen, you open up this beautiful, beautiful big map that's a gift to us from the sun.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Walaa, for being
You.
here. This is
Thank you.
amazing. I'm going to put all of your information in the description, all the links, everything, so people can find you. Um, but this has been amazing. So, everyone, make sure you all have an amazing day filled with good vibes and great energy. And until next time, bye bye.